Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, or whenever you happen to be watching this episode. This is Steven, your host of Bourbon Bay Talks, and I want to thank everybody for joining me for another amazing episode of Made in Tampa Bay with Big Storm Brewing Company. And we are going to share their story of the distillery, which started in 2020, talk a little bit about the brewery, which of course came out in 2012. Uh, I'll be joined by LJ, the co owner, and Ryan, the head distiller, as we discuss Big Storm Brewing Company. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I always appreciate your support and enthusiasm and the comments. And that reminds me, we're going to say please smash the like button. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. I did start a new Patreon account, which I will be putting a link in the video for this account. Because, hey, to keep doing this and what I'm passionate about, it needs some support and love. So if you could go over and join and subscribe to the Patreon account, that'd be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, so basically we're going to talk about Big Storm Brewing Company, which is one of the largest independent brewers in the state of Florida. They have an impact starting out in Odessa, up on State Road 54, where they started back in 2012. This is their location over on Clearwater off of 19. And they also have locations in Orlando and near Sarasota. They just purchased Darwin Brewing Company down in near Sarasota, Punta Gorda area. So yeah, they're definitely growing, and it's exciting to see what's to come from Big Storm. And we're going to explore that story and get to try some amazing products, such as their vodkas. They have a bourbon that will be coming out pretty soon, hopefully in the next year or so. And they also have some rum, moonshine, and flavored liqueurs. So I hope you guys enjoy this awesome episode. And as always, please put down in the comments what your thoughts are. And I appreciate all the support. And again, smash that like button. And I hope you guys enjoy Ushka Behe and cheers as we enjoy an amazing episode of Bourbon Bay Talks and Made in Tampa Bay with Big Storm Brewing Company. And I'm going to let LJ, the co-owner, introduce himself and tell us about Big Storm Brewing Company. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Got into the Big Storm, like how it all started
Sure.
with you. And
So this will be our 10th year. We actually didn't even realize that you're just kind of so busy right now looking up events for the rest of the year. The anniversary party came up, and we said, "Holy crap! It's been 10 years, right?" So, Big Storm was founded in a 2,500 square foot warehouse in Weston Chapel. I'm sorry, not Weston Chapel. In Odessa, off the West Pasco Industrial Complex, back there in a little square foot space near Monin Flavoring. Like, funny enough, right? So. We've obviously grown a lot since then. Still family owned, still a close, tight team, and very excited to finally be allowed to be into distillation and distilled products. So it's been quite a road trying to get here, but we're here now, so we're really excited about that.
no, yeah, it's really exciting. And you guys have been around since 2012, and the distillery side of things just kind of got started in 2020. So, like,
Right.
what was kind of the idea of going into the distillery side, the craft spirit side of the business?
So we tried for a few years to get a distillery license, and we were told can't happen because you have tasting rooms, and those tasting rooms create this violation of the three-tier system. Even though tasting rooms are given a 2 COP, so beer only, then you can upgrade to a beer and wine license. You can't have a spirits license unless you have a 4 COP, and all these reasons why we couldn't get into it. But if you had a distillery first, you could start a brewery tomorrow, right? So we kind of bided our time, and we were at the point where we were going to apply for essentially a blender's license, okay? And so we were going to buy spirit made from other people, blend it. From vodka to bourbon, and put our twist on it, and say that's probably the best we can ever do, right? And then COVID happened, and another brewery in town here supposedly was making they were making hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
And the state came to us and said, hey, actually, I'm sorry, it was the county, Pinellas County came to us and said, hey, can you make, we saw them making hand sanitizer, can you? Our response was, that's all they've done is taken their cleaning chemicals, repackaged them, and gifted them out to you as hand sanitizer. They're not making anything. In fact, they're buying up all the supply. They're driving out the supply for us to keep our beer tanks clean. But I happen to own some equipment. So these two little guys, actually all three of these behind you, but I was primarily thinking of these two. If you would give us a distiller's license, let's make the ethanol required to go from there. And they, after a little back and forth, they were adamant to only give us a chemical license, and I was adamant to say, well, no, thank you. I'm a good patriot, and I care about my neighbors, but I can't do all this to make chemicals. Like there's, the idea was the big supply. Purell is only going to be out for so long until they catch up, right? That was our thought, and so we pushed for beverage license. We finally got the beverage license, which, in my opinion, that really set precedent for what is the barrier of brewery and distillery breaking down. After we got that license and Proof got their license, what was your rational reason that brewers couldn't have distilling licenses or vice versa? And so, now we take no credit for the years of work that like the guys at St. Pete Distilling and St. Augustine Distilling put into this, but consumption on site, I think, really kind of tore down. It was an extra, well, if the beer guys can do it, why can't the spirits guys? So, yeah, we're super excited. I mean, listen, we've wanted to be in this space for a very long time. To get to this point of everything in front of you starts with making beer, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, it was always really silly to us that we could brew a 16 to 18% beer, right? We could ferment it multiple times. We could, in theory, do like ice freezing and concentrate, right? I just don't know how that would taste terribly, but that wouldn't have been a problem. But the moment we use an apparatus behind you with a condenser, that's a problem, right? So, that really is the story. I mean, if not for COVID and not for the lack of hand sanitizer, I don't think the laws would have changed. I don't think we would have been licensed. But it certainly was not for lack of trying. For years we tried, and so we're here where we are now, right?
So, basically that was kind of some of the challenges. Like you would say those were probably some of your major challenges, is
For
just
sure.
trying to get through the state, which I know like the FCA or the Florida Craft Spirit Association has been kind of working on that.
Yeah.
To try to change those laws. But I guess, it's just been a whole holdback from prohibition.
Right.
So since you guys have kind of now been able to become a distillery, and you guys have all these products, is there future plans for expansion on different things? Like, so we have vodkas, we
Right.
have moonshine, and
Yeah,
then
you got the
hard
coffee
seltzer.
rum,
Yeah,
right,
the coffee
right,
rum.
right.
So, and do you guys have plans for other things? Like, I think we're talking. You guys
Yeah.
are working on a
Yeah,
bourbon.
we just pulled some stuff out of a barrel, but we do, right? So, and I've been very transparent about this from the beginning. I mean, you can see our equipment behind us. I mean, we've got a shotgun still, a 10-plate still, and a hybrid still. For us to make vodka would take, we would lose money every single time, right? So we've partnered with someone to contract a still for us, right? Until our new still comes. We have a 30-foot continuous still. So what's taking us right now 8 weeks to mow through that amount of wash is now going to take us 8 hours, right? So, the vodka, we've always contracted that, but everything else we've done ourselves. So the coffee liqueur, it's a silver rum-based product that we distilled. We fermented, we distilled, we infused with beans that were specifically roasted at the coffee shop for this project, right? They're back there. I think they're not rainforest certified. They're Rainforest Alliance. Yeah, they are beans. Right. So there's some thoughtfulness into that product. And then the two products in the end, everything but the turkey, and we call them apple pie moonshine. I mean, what really is moonshine, right? Those were actually distilled from beer, from ready-to-drink beer. And so you get this nice malt character. If not for the hops in that liquid, that would have been a malt whiskey all day long, right? And then, like everybody else, we can't buy time, right? So that's what this literally came out of the barrel. It's cold, and, it's a cold day in the warehouse here. This is what we hope our expression of our bourbon to be, right? So this is a heavily wheated, blended product. And that is what we will be laying down, fresh barrels from day one with that malt profile. Instead of single malts blended together, right? Kind of what we've done. This will be obviously all at one time, right? But yeah, look, we being from Florida, we think rum is agricultural rum, right? Real fresh rum. Sugarcane juice is a great product. Interestingly enough, though, its availability is nothing like you'd think in Florida. It's actually much more readily available from Louisiana or Minneapolis of all places. So, time will tell what. Yeah, time will tell what where we kind of end up. I think the consumer will sell that really quickly, right? But I can say this: I mean, we absolutely intend to keep taking ready-to-drink beers and distilling them in different ways and coming up with different expressions. And other base traditional products, those will kind of come and go. I mean, I think our gin is phenomenal, but with the stuff you see behind you, for us to really distill and make gin, it takes so much time right now. We've got some in the tap room, but we're not going to put it out in the market because if it sells with any measure of success, right, we'll be gone and it's going to take us too long to replicate. That's why like the whiskey, we could go ahead and put this out right now with bought barrels, but our idea is
take the time.
Keep it right. We're not going to do that. Let's wait until we get our continuous still put in with a doubler, and then let's lay those barrels down, and then maybe do some blending as we get from day 0 to day 2 or 3 to year 2 or 3. But at least let's start moving in that direction, right? So it's not just all here's the lot we had and we're out and we'll see you in 3 years.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the funny part that a lot of people don't realize is that beer is basically the first step of getting to distillers.
Yep.
And you mentioned that basically you guys are kind of doing some beer-made distillations.
Yep.
And like I think that is starting to kind of be a big thing. Like I know there's some other distillers here in Florida, like Dark Doors doing a Spirit IPA. That was there first. And so do you guys have plans on doing like let's say a stout base? Because I've had your guys' stout and it's awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for us, right, there's twofold. So there's because the hops, it really makes a big difference, good or bad, right? I mean, I think we distilled Palm Bender once. It smelled like cannabis, and it tasted like what I presume cat pee would taste like. It was just funky. It was not a good funky. It was just like, guys, let's never do this again, right? It was all over the board. But Palm Bender with some Wave Maker, like we just had some extra beer, we threw it and started running the equipment. That was actually pretty awesome, right? Unfortunately, there's no replicating that. We just literally threw stuff together and said, see what's happening. So I think, if nothing else, they'll be there on a larger scale. They'll be beer-inspired malt whiskeys. So Wave Maker, right? So we, in barrels behind you, we distilled Wave Maker whiskey. And it was the mash profile of our amber ale, everything up to getting to the kettle and adding hops, right? So, we mashed it. And unlike in the spirits where you start high and go low, we did everything you traditionally would do in beer. So we didn't get to like a 12 or 15% ABV. We got to what Wave Maker's ABV traditionally would be, and that creates a really awesome malty product. And we'll definitely explore more of that. So like Oktoberfest is another one. Like we're really excited to use that Oktoberfest base, the Huracan, right? That base, the quintuple, our GABF award-winning gold medal beer. I think that'd be really terribly expensive to take ready to drink 16% quintuple. But if we took the base of that and from there, right before we secondary fermentation in a wine barrel, we just take that out of the stainless steel and distill that. We're going to try that as well.
So, I mean, kind of going beyond that, like you guys are probably experimenting on how long with the maturation or the aging process, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like from your whiskeys to those beer-made spirits.
Yep.
And so is that still kind of like just where you guys are still trying to figure out, like, okay, hey, this is where we want to age it to, or this is like what we find to be the honey spot?
Yeah, so look, I mean, again, we don't know what we don't know yet, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of this business that are translatable skills, but, every little nuance difference has an impact at some point, right? And so right now, different liquids and different bases have been interacting differently in the wood. Our warehouse isn't substantially that different, but obviously bigger barrels, smaller barrels, batch 1 to batch 3, those things have played an impact. So, we're striving for consistency, as we always do at the brewery. I think that's what makes really big guys very impressive, right? It's the same consistency all the time. I'll wait for that to track through. But it's certainly a little difficult on our size to do that. And so some of the stuff we've just leaned into that, right? Like, I think with the coffee liqueur, if not the coffee liqueur, I know, coffee liqueur, I mean, that's just, those batch number, I mean, batch 2 will probably not taste like batch 1, right? Yeah. Not for lack of trying, but,
it's always going to be
always a little difference. I mean, think of all the things that went into it, right? So it was a base spirit, right? It was a sugar additive, a little brown sugar, right? It was the beans we roasted, right? So there's so many compounding factors that batch 2 may be a little different than batch 1. I think, though, uniquely, that's probably one of the things that makes the craft spirits industry really cool, right? It's that Pokemon, got to catch them all, right? You want to buy every batch. And so I think those subtle differences are actually really embraced on our sides, even though we're trying to homogenize and not have that so you always know what you're getting. There's some of it just is what it is at our scale.
So, I mean, it's kind of like part of that. Like, have you guys decided that, okay, for, let's say, your whiskeys and stuff, when it comes to when you guys start to distill that, are you guys going to be using kind of like a sweet mash or a sour mash process?
Yeah.
Or,
so I think
especially with what you guys do in the brewery.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that lends itself everything to a sweet mash, right?
Yeah.
We have a relatively large expansion we're planning, and when that happens, we might be able to shift some beer products around. One of them being soured beer, right? So right now, all of our sour beer is made in Pasco.
Okay.
And what ends up happening is most people don't ever get to really drink some of our sour beer, and I think we have some of the best in the state.
I don't know if I've tried it.
I bet you haven't. It's because it's primarily up in Pasco. It occasionally gets out to other places, but
Okay.
I'll put that liquid up against anybody with no hesitation. And so the idea is that we can bring some of that back here in tanks that are specifically for either soured beer or soured mash, not connected to anything, right? Intentionally inoculating and doing the things we would do for that liquid. That'll give us some flexibility. But for right now, I think we're primarily going to focus on what we do best at the brewery, right? And that's sweet mash. Yeah.
And then, so kind of going a little bit, what would you say are some of the challenges? And, I guess you guys have such a big footprint right now in the Tampa Bay area as a brewery.
Yeah.
But you guys just started the craft distillery part. What would you say is kind of one of the biggest challenges to kind of, I guess, if you either want to separate it and distinguish you guys yourself as a distillery as well?
Yep.
What would you say would kind of be that big challenge?
Well, I mean, look, there's some of the stuff we just don't know because we've just never sold spirits, right?
Yeah.
So it's really the sales side. I'd say sales and marketing. I mean, we've got to be in 1 liter bottles for vodka. We didn't think that would matter. Craft was craft, and everything should be craft. And the reality is, if we go to 1 liter bottles, we'll have significantly more business. That's good and bad, right? Margins compress a little bit, but we just didn't know that was that big of an issue. Some of the spirits and stuff we can do, getting them into the shelves of retailers has been a little harder. And I would say in some way, having relationships have been helpful and not helpful, right? So, if we ever wanted to go with another distributor, which I'd say that we have great relationships, so please don't. Let's not start that.
No.
Right? We couldn't because we already have existing relationships. Like if we didn't work with the people that we already work with, I think there'd be some hurt feelings.
Yeah.
And so, that's good and bad, right? Like spirits guys, they know they are in that world every single day. It's a different product. But I think for when you ask the question of difficulty, look, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think coming up the way we did, being able to brew great beer and those same principles that go into brewing clean, great beer, I'm not sure. I think that's a nice leg up, not a disadvantage to our fermentation process and then distillation, right? I think if start with shitty wash and then you can concentrate it. That's all you now have is concentrated shitty wash.
Yeah.
Stick it in the barrel a little bit. Now you have over oaked shitty concentrated wash, right? I think we start kind of the way we're doing, but yeah, I mean, I said a little learning curve to the product and the sales side. The production side, I've been significantly impressed with what we've been able to do in a short term, right? I think everyone has given us great feedback. We haven't done anything too bold yet, so I'll take that, as some criticism. But, it's kind of some walking before we run, right? That's it, right? So, I think as we learn the sales side a little bit better, I think that'll help us. But it's certainly just things we weren't prepared for.
And I mean, have you guys kind of reached out a little bit to get some help from other people in the industry to help you guys along the way? Or
look, I think both industries are super collaborative, but this is not a team sport.
No.
Right? So at the end of the day, business is business.
Yeah.
And I think like the FCSA does a great job. It's super collaborative, small group, right? But every group has politics within the group. And so, we've asked a few peers and friends for what about this, what about that? But I think it's kind of foolhardy to ask your competitor business advice and then really take that fully. I think when mutually beneficial, it's been great questions to ask of people.
Yeah.
But it's the industry. listen, it's still a business. It's always a business, right? And so the people that want to convince you or talk to you about how we're all kumbaya and we're all best friends, well, I really look at them as a big fat seal playing the flute, leading the oysters to the pot, right? It's everyone still has their own business.
Yeah.
So gladly listen to some of the suggestions, right? But we're not going to sit and ask you for advice and then choose not to follow it. That's kind of a shitty move on us, right?
No,
like,
I got you.
Like so, but so far, I will say the unsolicited advice we've gotten from people have been spot on, have been remarkably congenial, have been remarkably helpful. You know, and I think especially in the distilling space, there's some looking at where big beer and small beer have made some mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And big distilling and small distilling have really gotten along a lot better.
Yeah.
And you know, it doesn't help the craft distiller, the big distillers, for craft distillers to put up bad product, right? Yeah. That's not like a flight to Jack Daniels, right? Like they're not going to. Those consumers are already there, right? Yeah. I think there's this idea that let's all take share away from wine and beer, right? As opposed to fighting amongst each other, and that's a little different, I feel, than beer. But you know, all in all, I mean, anyone that's given us advice truly has been like thoughtful, well thought out, well articulated advice that we've used. So
yeah, and I mean, kind of going now on to with you guys, we talked about a little bit about the expansion of the distillery. Yeah. If you guys want to go a little bit more,
sure.
If that's
So I mean, we start with this room right now. I mean, with the room we're sitting in, it's about 4,400, 4,600 square feet. I can't remember exactly. Just cutting off to that corner right there. That wall comes down. All this stuff comes down. This is actually a new cooler for the brewery. Oh, okay. So packaging moving from the brewery into the other side of that bay door. So you have a beer tube flowing over, right? So 2 lines, one for the liquid and then one for a CIP cleaning, circular system, with all bright tanks over here, packaging for the beer. Then we have this 30-foot continuous still coming. That's going to go on what is the loading dock now. We're going to wall in the loading dock, sprinkler in the loading dock, and have a beer feed. I think it's the smaller of the 2 horizontal tanks will be this feed tank, right? So ferment in a 120, push centrifuge, push it over, get any particulate out, right? Sit in that 5,000 gallon tank, and then feed that into the still. And that way, as you get to the bottom, if it's the same, if it's a second ferment of the same liquid, you can just keep kind of adding on top of it, right? But substantial output difference, right? So, like I said, 120 barrels, right? That's our unit in the beer world is barrels, 31 gallons at a time. 120 barrels worth of Wave Maker whiskey wash took us about 8 to 12, I don't remember the actual number was, weeks to mow through. It's going to take us about 8 hours now to go from first drop in to last drop, to the last drop we want to keep out, right?
Yeah.
With a higher yield and less waste, and then proof down before we barrel age. We get to barrel proof and then go from there. Yeah, so it's a substantial output, right?
Drastic change.
Yeah. So we think we're gonna something like like over a barrel an hour, and still, I mean, that's substantial for where we are today, but that's really nothing in the drop of a bucket to some of the our larger craft people, right? Like, but super blessed to I've made that decision to buy that a while ago, and we'll have some learning curve on that as well. We're still looking for a large pot still to do some of the things that we don't want brought up to high proof, right? But that's by far the biggest part, right? So with that is going to end up coming an offsite, probably close to and somewhat tangential, but an offsite barrel storage facility with the bottling, because we're just going to need the space. We plan to run that still every day, and so we're filling 8 to 12 barrels a day. That's going to be, we're going to need some space pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
So.
And I mean, it sounds like you guys with the expansion, not just with the brewery and stuff like that, but with the distillery, you guys are probably going to definitely make a big impact, especially here in the Florida craft spirit world.
We sure hope to do that. I think doing this just to have some product in our tap rooms is real foolhardy. I think everything we do, if it's not to a certain scale and size, I kind of question what's the point. Because the effort's the same.
Yeah.
Right? The effort's absolutely the same if we're going to stick with these or we're going to do something else. It's maybe a little more money for raw materials. But again, super fortunate. We already have that investment made, right? So, when we buy another fermenter, whether it doesn't really matter if it's for the brewery or the distillery, it's staying filled, right? It's staying used. So, in that regard, we're super lucky, right? That we kind of backdoored into how we got here. But, very, very exciting for where we're going in the future. I think our growth will be pretty good.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you guys are kind of becoming the Napification, at least craft beer world and eventually the distillery world, because you got the place over in Odessa, which is a pretty nice place.
Yeah.
I've been to this one, and they're very just nice places to come and visit, spend the day at or something like that.
Sure.
And then I think you guys just got a location over at that old Hamburger Mary's
Yeah.
down in Ybor now.
Yeah, it's our largest restaurant. Our largest tap room.
Yeah, so I mean, and then would you eventually probably hope to sell these guys in there too? I would assume, right?
Oh, absolutely. So and the way this will work, we actually buy back from a distributor, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
we can't just port
The third
things
tier
over.
system,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, it's look. I'll say this. I think we're going to be on the forefront just by happenstance,
Yeah.
not by choice, of changing laws in Florida and adoption and liberalization of what were those prohibition laws, right? And the allowance of either transferring or the allowance of multiple locations. It's great for tourism.
Oh yeah.
It's great for the economy. We're not competition to. We offer an experience, and say we, the global we, right?
Yeah.
Breweries and distilleries. We offer an experience that just a bar and restaurant can't offer. We're not the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So, so as long as that understanding stays to where, we're never competition to our biggest customers. We support our biggest customers. Support all customers, let alone our biggest customers. We support our customers. I think the industry can keep growing, right? So,
Well, I mean, and I guess kind of also like you guys are really well known in the Tampa Bay area. You're getting known outside of Tampa, and you basically, you guys are a big Florida company. And when it comes to your guys' mash bills, I know there's some things that you just can't source from Florida all the time.
right.
But I mean, you guys try to mostly keep it a little local. And,
Yeah, and we do that with our beer too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I was talking with the beer we just brewed for Hops for Hunger. I mean, it was a honey wheat ale, right? And we used the same proprietor, Queen Kathleen, for her honey we've used for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Our strawberries for Starkey Blonde come from Starkey Ranch. We're spinning up a strawberry blonde. A strawberry rum using whole strawberries from Starkey. We'll process them and use them from the Starkey Ranch, right? Blueberries from the middle of the state. From what's the farm? The blueberry farm. Oh man, they're gonna be upset with me. But
Brian, if you want to
yeah, right. If you want to have in here.
Yeah.
So I mean, we try to. I think for Florida, there's just some products agriculturally haven't caught up yet, right?
Yeah.
So like, I know we're working on with rye. A rye from Florida is gonna be awesome, right? Some of that though is also not by choice, by requirement, right?
Yeah.
So under the new distillation laws, 70% of your products have to use product from Florida. That's gonna be a little tough for some people, right? So it's not 60% of the products by volume by product. It's 60% of the products. So you have 100 products, 60 of them have to use something from Florida.
Oh, really? Wow.
Right? So, is fresh Florida water considered a product?
Yeah,
I don't think anyone knows the answer to that, right? But certainly, rye from Florida is. We've talked to a few farmers, and please excuse my ignorance on the agricultural side, right? I don't grow.
I'm not an expert on it either.
We're looking for like a high sugar content, like maize. Like what would be the equivalent of like natural Florida corn, right? But that's still not too tough and still can be broken down. Like we haven't really got an answer to that yet, right? But how cool would that be to have a genuine Florida whiskey? What would denote Florida whiskey would be this corn-like product, right? Not a hybrid modern something that was here, before the Spanish came and settled in Florida, right? Someone's naturally growing here and use that as our base to extract our sugars to make this Florida corn or Florida whiskey. I think it'd be pretty awesome. And that's something we want to work on. We've looked at 2-ton fruit presses to go by stock sugarcane. We talked about sugarcane juice a second ago. So let's just go buy stock sugarcane, harvest it on a Monday, ship it here Monday evening. Tuesday we have a press and like literally extract that ourselves and squeeze that out ourselves, and then do some really cool stuff we talked about later on with the stocks. So I think like all of those things are things like as we grow and we free up some capital and some time, like we absolutely want to do, because everything we do here, we're selling Florida every day long, right? So I think we continue that.
I met with some guys yesterday, and they were talking about UF getting closer to be able to have a 6-row barley available grown in Florida.
Awesome.
So I mean that opens the door for even more opportunity for us, especially with the big push for American single malt,
right?
Knocking on the door. So 100% barley sourced out of Florida for American single malt. I mean,
no, yeah, that would be awesome. And just because to me, I think Florida is getting there as its own, where you could say just like a Kentucky or Tennessee, like Florida is definitely getting there. And I mean, when you get craft distillers like this, who,
Right.
do it, I think it's just great.
Well, look, I think we I think I'll say this. I think everyone wants to get to be like a Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
We are way, 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 way far away. But everyone involved, I think, is doing their part to help us get there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a diverse offering. Kentucky, we all know what comes from Kentucky, right? I think, though, your Florida distilleries, because you're not tied to that long historical draw, we'll be making a lot of different things, and that's really cool. I think we'll have a wide, right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, really, in a lot of ways, I mean, this next 10 years are going to be what sets Florida distilling, right? The history of Florida distilling, and we're super excited to be a small part of that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of players though that are going to put their own spin and put Florida on the map in their own way.
Yeah, that's great. And real quick, I just want to have Ryan here introduce. He's the head distiller here at the Big Storm Distillery. And if you just kind of want to talk a little bit about yourself real quick, and then we'll try some.
So I actually started off as a chemist. That's what kind of got my foot in the door to a lot of this. Got my degree in biochemistry, then went to beer school at USF St. Pete. Went through their beer certification program, and it's not cut. This is full proof. Smell like my whiskey.
I was not expecting that.
Barrel strength.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I got the job as the quality manager in the brewery and did that for a number of years. And once the opportunity opened and we got the distilling license, I was able to step and assume the role as a distiller here. And as of right now, I'm working on my master's through here at Watt, so that furthers my career here and gives me the knowledge base to actually make some new products and kind of really drive this place to be great. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys just got some amazing things coming. I can't wait to see what Big Storm does. And I'd love to try some of this whiskey you guys got here.
Yeah, this is definitely barrel strength. So this is what the expression. This is what we want our bourbon to be. So this is a blend of, I think, a 3, a 5, and a 7, or 7 and 2 3s. I don't know what it was, but it was more about the mash profile than anything else.
I mean, if it's not too much of a priority secret, I mean, what is a mash bill typically?
this would be like a 4-grain.
Yeah.
So we do the wheat, rye, barley, and corn.
But heavy on the wheat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heavier on the wheat.
Yeah, high on the wheat. Enough to still be a bourbon, but pretty high on the wheat.
Yeah, I mean, and you can tell that too because you get those nice vanilla. You get that honey in there, and it's smooth. So
right.
Even if it's a barrel strength, it's not giving you a huge hug.
Right.
As they like.
Yeah. No, I think we definitely go for more sweeter.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that goes back to just kind of some of the things that we are at Big Storm. I mean, if we're gonna make something spicy, let's just go make a rye. Let's go make a great rye. Let's go make a high rye.
Yeah.
And if you want some heat, let's do it. Right. I think, but for bourbon, it's totally common. We know it is to buy and bottle. Nothing against any of that, right? We've talked about before, vodka, total transparency. I think, though, when it comes to certain products at certain price points, we've just decided we're going to wait. We're just going to wait. I'm not going to bottle someone else's stuff and slap a $100 price point in a bottle, right? So, I think we'll have some more time to play around with this, but this is what this is what we're aiming for right now. And I can tell you, as soon as that new still's put in and the doublers put in, we're laying down barrels, right? That is the goal. So we like where this has kind of ended up. We think it's good product. We think it'll be enjoyable by a lot of people, right? It's approachable.
It's very approachable.
It's still a little unique. I don't think we found anyone with the actual mash profile of the 4 grains that we're going to have. Just the 4 grain in general, right? Pretty rare.
Yeah.
But the proportion of what we're doing them in is, I think, pretty uncommon. So.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see a lot of the 4 grain. You're starting to see a little bit more of it. And just real quick, you said the age blending on this was 4, 3.
I think it's a 7 and 2 5s or a 5 and 2 7s.
I believe it's like a 5 and 2 5s and a 7.
There you go. Yeah.
So like when you guys kind of start to get to where you're aging, is that where you're going to try to?
We'll probably start year 3.
Yeah.
Right, year 3, and then possibly blending this back in for a little bit. At some point, right, you never get off that train of buying stuff. It's hard to kind of just make your switch. So I think what we'll probably end up is maybe just some um, foreshadowing, right? So like, if our product's year 3, right? So if the lowest age on this is 5, we could say this is an 8, right? But again, fully transparent. Like we blended this,
Yeah.
we distilled, we fermented, we distilled, we barrel aged that, right? But that in 5 years should be this, right? So, it's yeah.
Yeah.
Right now we have the nice thing. The bad thing about a distillery is you need to buy time.
Oh,
right? The nice thing for us is with the brewery,
Yeah, you guys.
we have time.
Yeah.
We can afford to just put a lot of stuff in barrels,
Yeah.
and you probably don't get it from those angles. But I mean, we've got a lot of 53s, but we got a bunch of 5s, we got a bunch of
Oh
10s,
wow! So
and those
you
are all
got some
just
smaller ones?
trying stuff to see what
blending back in.
Yeah.
There's some distilled aged beer spirit over there
Yeah.
that we toyed around the idea of maybe blending in some of the actual whiskey with that to kind of see where it goes, see what the kind of
Yeah.
flavor profiles we can get. You got the florals from the hops coming in, it intertwined with some of the flavors from a traditional corn whiskey or a bourbon or something, and put it out. And I'm sure people probably love it. Be unique, new products.
No, I mean it's totally true. It's like, I mean, that's what's great about being a craft distillery is you guys
Right.
get to be that innovative and
Yeah.
and come out with things that normally what was probably done maybe hopefully or 100 years ago or
Sure.
something that stopped because it wasn't that profitable
right.
and now it's coming back. And
Well,
you guys
the
get to
first
do that.
our first batches of hand sanitizer were beer. They were beer that was sitting in fermentation vessels. I'm sorry, in the bright tanks. That like sales had dried up, right? And it was, distill it, redistill it, redistill it, redistill it, redistill it, right? And that when we first started, when we were making hand sanitizer, to keep the business alive. I mean, there were some 24-hour shifts with multiple days of handoff and handoff and handoff, right? So, during those times, we started talking with like our head brewer about beer schnapps and particularly like Oktoberfest and some of the stuff that's done historically in other places, and traditionally in other places that you don't really see here. So either that means really like, oh, cool, we're gonna do something fully innovative, or it's a terrible business decision, right? But the product will be good, the product will be cool, but let's just go try it, right? If the worst that happens is we redistill it, we distill impurities out and sell it as, shine, a moonshine, like that, great. If the worst that happens is it sells and we have to make it again, well, we'll figure that out, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you got like I know this. I think you said the apple moonshine. Is that kind of like because that's becoming such a big segment too? Is moonshine again?
Yeah.
Um,
I think. What was your question? I'm sorry.
so I mean, that's like you guys have plans to kind of expand this line a little bit with the moonshine, or is probably the apple.
I mean, definitely. I would
Yeah.
say, it's
I mean, that's-
available for us
Yeah.
to do
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
it might
I mean,
as
so that was a
well.
base
Kind of.
beer spirit put in a barrel for a year,
Mhm.
right? We pulled it out. We just said, what can we do with it? We're coming into the holidays, right? And so, what's kind of good to give the holidays, right? I think Brian knocked it out of the park with how he flavored it, and the base is obviously fine on its own without. But I think the expansion of taking beer spirits, right? Because that's really just an extension of small batch beers, right? So, if we've got 10 case drops of something and it's gone, like that's a great problem to have, right? So, we'll keep expanding those things, but market's changing quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we ask a question all the time, like, what is moonshine, right? What is, so I don't know. Look, we want to make what's high quality. We want to make what sells.
Well, I mean, I can tell you guys for the bourbon, this is really good, and to me, this almost tastes like one of my favorites, which is Horse Soldier Small Batch, which to me is very close to like E.H. Taylor.
Sure.
And yeah, so I think you guys got one that's really good on this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're super excited. Yeah, we'll see in a few years,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And that's the thing. You can't beat Father Time. So.
No, not at all.
Do we know what the proof is on this one?
This should be sitting around about a 120, 122.
Yeah, it's a little warm.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the funny part is, some people think, oh, that high proof, it's going to really, kill you.
Sure.
But, if you guys have done it right, and which you guys have, it's actually very smooth and just got good flavors to it. And
Thanks, man.
sometimes, like I've had 130 proof, and like you get different flavors out of it.
Sure.
Like this, you get a little orange, a little citrus in there.
Yep.
And I've had one where I got some cherries out of it. So you just kind of get different flavor profiles, and that's kind of the fun part, Ryan. And I think you could know that big time when you do the distillations aging of stuff. It's just the different flavor profiles. Even though if it's just the same grains, how many different flavor profiles you get out of it.
Oh yeah, especially the yeast you're using. I mean, they're gonna produce a lot of different flavor profiles. I've read a couple studies lately over just comparison even between different industries, like using brewing yeast for distillation, or even using like a baking yeast or something like that, and getting flavors from there just to see oh man, I really love fruit in my whiskey. So what's the best yeast to do it? Oh well, it's a wine yeast. So boom, let's try it out. Let's try some stuff like that. Then start playing around with the if you want to do lactic acid bacteria. Okay, well, what strain do you want to use? Because you're going to get different flavors out of that too. So I mean, it's almost endless the possibilities that you can have for flavor profiles. Just it's like where do you want to go? What do you want to taste like? Start laying some stuff down and trying it out.
I look at this as like beer, right? So you have obviously a lot of different ingredients, right? But now you've just cubed that output of variable expectations, right? Because now you added, I think, yeast impact, right? But then you got yeast and materials, right? It's the same as beer, right? No problem. You can, same mash profile. You make 3 different beers. It may taste great. It may taste terrible, right? Same raw materials. But then we start adding proof off, proof in, and the barrel itself, and where the barrel is stored, how the barrel is stored, all those conditions go into it. Yeah. It's just the permutations of outcome are to the exponential level, and that's what I think makes it really fun, because there's a lot of things where I would say, I think in the beer world, make that beer, there's nowhere to hide. Like, it's just, there's nothing you can do with it. And or if you've got the guy that's the coconut porter peanut butter XYZ added, well, it's probably shitty beer to begin with. You just add a bunch of stuff to it. In this world, if you get there, if you really have no reason not to start over again, right? If you can always just redistill and start over again. You lose time, sure, but you can stick in more barrels. There's so many things you can do that, while time is not your friend, but you can have a lot of fun with product, right?
So the distiller's toolbox is almost there's a lot of tools in there. You can do a lot with it.
One of the ones we talk about right now is like the gin or hop gins, right? So we've done gin on a really small scale. One of the things we're looking at is a pharmaceutical cold vacuum distillation, right? And I think when we can have a little more money, you can buy a couple of those really fun toys. That's when I think you see some really awesome stuff out of a gin. I think when we start adding some of those, small those very unique hops that we don't ordinarily use in our beer, really bring stuff out in a gin. That's gonna be cool.
No, and that's kind of like always the cool things that you can do. I mean, and then plus that, like with you guys opening up the restaurant. That one, that got me a little. But yeah, you guys doing the restaurants too. I mean, you guys can do like inspired, beer-inspired flavored recipes, whiskey-inspired, and I mean, it's just so many different things that you guys can come up with.
Well, I'll say emphatically, like, without any shame. I mean, you look at what the Horse Soldier guys have done down in St. Pete, right? Like, I think that is the muse, and that is the new expectation of customer service and the distilling world, right? So, if we can come 1/10 of what they've already done down there at Urban Stillhouse, as far as food and beverage pairings, I'll be more than happy, right? So, yeah, it's cool stuff.
No, it makes me excited because I think Tampa Bay is just becoming such a cultural area, and you guys are helping out with that big time. And so, I mean, you guys gonna, like, I know with the brewery side, you guys have also expanded into with the Rowdies, the Rays, the Lightning now, especially with your high voltage, which has been selling like crazy. Are you guys going to try to do some of that with the spirits as well, or? I mean, I know it's kind of like a different side of things.
Yeah, so it certainly is. I mean, sports marketing and spirits spend is kind of a tough thing, right? Because it's harder than the beer world where you had craft beer, non-craft beer, right? So those are carved out in contracts. Yeah. I think we certainly would love to do lightning-inspired products, right? And we'll continue to do that.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean, rumor has it the Bucks are going to bring back creamsicle jerseys next year. Maybe there's a creamsicle Bucks-inspired RTD we could do, right?
That'd be cool.
But it's we've had a few conversations with people outside of Tampa Bay, just other sports teams around Florida.
Oh yeah.
But I'll say it's never going to be as authentic and unique as here in Tampa, right? I mean, whether it be the Rowdies or the Lightning. those are our teams. And anytime we have a relationship with anyone else, I mean, certainly they become our team, but it's never the same thing.
No, and Tampa is starting to have big events. I mean, we have, of course, just this past week, and we had the Gasparilla Parade.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so it's like you get all these different festivals now that Tampa's getting known
Right.
for, like the Cuban Sandwich Festival, the Mayor's River Greens.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's just plenty of stuff like, you guys can, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, so.
We'll have to have you on our float. We're gonna. I wanted a Gasparilla float for like 4 years, and I think next year might be the year we actually have time to do it.
God, I feel like one year I went, you guys thought I saw you guys have it.
I mean, I've been there, but we've had beer on floats, but we've never had our own float.
That would be cool.
Yeah, you think I wonder if they let us do the Tesla coils off of our. You think they'd be okay with that?
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Do it and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Never hurts to do it and then just ask for forgiveness.
Sorry, we didn't know we couldn't do that.
Yeah, oops.
And you shoot lightning bolts out at people? I'm not sure that strategy works there.
Just make sure it's not like really raining out. So.
He says he likes it, but I don't know, man.
No, it's just the last two. Because I swallowed, I chugged. I shouldn't have done that.
No.
It's a sipper.
Yeah, this is definitely a sipper, which is why I like whiskey, and because it brings people together and it slows you down.
Sure.
And especially in this fast-paced world now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did you guys want to try anything else before
you tell us what you want to try. I mean, we got...
I would love to try some of this coffee. Man.
Sure. Yeah, this is super cool, right? So, Hey, Luke, can you grab us some more glasses? Thank you, buddy. Shit.
So, this is actually this collaboration between us and Big Storm Coffee Co.
Oh, okay.
Very unique product in the way that we did this. It is a coffee bean infused rum.
Look at the bottom. You can see the brown sugar and
nice.
So
I would say not chill filter.
Oh no, this is real coffee that's in there.
You're good.
It's a coffee bean and vapor infused rum. I don't have the gin basket quite to do gins, but I do have an undersized one that works great for coffee beans. I mean, a little bit of coffee beans go a long way. So
thank you, sir.
We do the base rum and then blend it up and then use our actual own cold brew in it. They roast the coffee beans, grind them up. We do the cold brew over the brewery, bring it over, we blend it all together, and it really comes together for a very flavorful drink. I mean, there's a lot of deep flavors. I mean, if you're a coffee lover, obviously you're gonna be hooked on it. But I think even people who aren't necessarily a strong coffee drinker, I mean, there's some potential that you probably gain some drinks. Yeah, very smooth.
Oh, this is dangerous.
Yeah, 35, 30, it's 70 proof, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I think it's
because this would sneak up on somebody.
Yeah. But I think the coolest part is it's a collaboration really with the coffee shop, right? So, using Rainforest Alliance beans. I think they probably had, not that we didn't have fun with it, but I think the coffee guys had more fun with it than we did. I mean, they were over here, they were over here way too often.
Yeah.
Sampling product and testing. It's like
we did a lot of trials.
Yeah.
It's like I just gotta make sure this is right.
Yeah.
But it came out good, and obviously this was our first batch, so we're gonna play around with it some more. Keep putting it out. Hopefully people really get it out there and start drinking it. I mean, that's why we brought it to the whiskey tasting event. We brought a coffee liqueur.
Oh yeah, I remember.
What's interesting is I actually think now that it's kind of sat for a little bit, some of that brown sugar is kind of mellowed in.
Yeah.
And not necessarily in a good way. Not that it's bad. I just think it was when it was like really super fresh, it was almost a little better.
Mm-hmm.
But back to like starting and trying, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll keep working. This is a passion project for us, right? We're gonna keep working on this. I wish we had someone for Zambuca. I had some of that the other day at the house.
I do have some.
Do you?
Yeah.
I've never had Zambuca.
Oh, that's another passion project for us. Yeah.
Really?
Why don't you grab it? So, Zambuca is like the spirit of my people, right? Italians, like.
Oh yeah, you're Italian.
Yep.
Nice.
So, it's almost this licorice flavor. Yeah.
I guess,
It's in a barrel. Oh, all right. Yeah. So it's almost a licorice style. Macerated in star anise and other additives. So and again, back to how things are kind of always related, right? So I'd say similar in context to how some gins are made, right? We do with the coffee liqueur, right? Zambuca's kind of share some of those properties on the maceration. So, we worked on something like last Christmas.
Oh, really?
That's something super small batch. We didn't make much.
This was a very, very small run. I think we only made a few gallons of this.
Yeah.
And I will say, it's potent. I think
is it?
Yeah, we were too strong in that, right? We after the fact, we should have come down.
I think it's like 101 proof or something like that.
Well, definitely is always the fun part.
So I would go into it with caution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That smells like...
And there's no label on this because it's literally like... We had like 2 cases. It's like 2 cases worth of product. That, I don't think it even went on the tap room.
Oh no, I never saw the light.
I never saw it.
So I'm lucky.
Yeah, you are lucky. I mean, I'm not saying this is our personal supply to the TTB that walks and asks about it, but it's
falls in the R&D.
Yeah,
category.
it's still. I mean, you couldn't see right now, but I wiped off some of the oil you'll get from just the different temperature variations. It's kind of sitting on the bottle, but
I mean,
so
definitely always find
throw a couple beans in there, and
a couple beans, because you definitely get that like licorice.
Yeah.
Anise,
That's let's do this too here. So
I like the finish on it too.
Yeah. Honestly, listen, I think that that's a product we talk about like commercially viable. No, not really. I mean, it's you can get really good Zambuca on the shelf because
you kind of almost get a little bit like sassafras.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. So you can get really good stuff for $25, $30, right? Like there is no such thing as we discovered at least, there is no such thing as like high end Zambuca, right? So
well, I mean, like Zambuca doesn't have like a regulation or I mean, if you guys wanted to eventually do this as your own.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
It kind of became tough as like, how do you, you're not going to compete with like the other brands that are in the shelf, right?
There,
and so,
fun,
so we got here. So these are our Vodka Sodas. And we sell them by the 8-pack, right? In single flavor or variety. So the first you got is lemon lime.
Okay.
We've got a peach, the blackberry, and then grapefruit. And it's funny, man. Most people don't like grapefruit because I think the way other people have just made crappy grapefruit.
Yeah.
That's like our highest rated product. Seltzer Nation, this group that just drinks seltzers. That's all they do. That was a top 10 nationwide product last year for RTDs. Scored like a 95, I think.
Yeah, really nice.
And everything we've done is in the 90s, but that one has scored really well. And I think peach is our #1 flavor, but we're rolling with this variety pack right now. We're working on new flavors tomorrow, so for every day we're working on new flavors. But pop it open, drink what you want, drink as little as much you want. These are a little better. These are 4.5% ABV. So
I'm not a huge seltzer fan. But...
And again, we use vodka, and this is the cane-based vodka, right?
It's pretty clean. I mean, it's very clean.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's just enough grapefruit in there to pop. You get the aromatics out of it, but it's not overpowering. You don't get that bitter that you get on some grapefruit in the back end.
And I'll say that's certainly, I think, going to be a unique position for us to be with RTDs. We already have the capital investment in those things. So we're helping a couple brands on some co-packing, right? Like that's where we can probably be collaborative to others. Is enter the space alongside us. But we fully intend to use the equipment we have, and that's as many RTDs, true to style. So we've looked at doing some more fancy high-end cocktails. Issue of those become to really do them true to style. You're going to be above 5% ABV, which really knocks out. Then you need a 4 COP. And let's be honest, who wants to drink a Manhattan out of a can? Like even the world's best canned, ready-to-drink Manhattan is still a Manhattan out of a can. And even if it's the exact same liquid that bartender's making you, you miss the experience. You miss that. And the guy or gal that's saying, I drink Manhattans at home, they're not drinking it out of a can either, right? So, I think we'll stick with tropical fruit, tropical beverages, beach drinks, forest. I mean, these are great to bring to the pool, the beach, the boat, right? It's a can. You're not going to break anything.
I would say blood orange would be a good one too.
Blood orange, We played with blood orange in the beginning, and there was a reason we said we shied away from it.
Really?
I think. I forget what it was. I think it just doesn't really come.
It was
through.
it was not bitter, right?
It was like doesn't have a. like you taste it and like, oh, it's citrus, but like there's no distinctive like,
Oh,
oh
okay,
man,
that
that's
says, hey,
blood
this is
orange.
blood orange.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, it was really bitter, almost like from like almost like it was if the hide was extracted. Like it just we never got it right.
I can see why your guys' peach is
Yeah.
definitely the popular because it is good.
Shockingly, that is the most simple one to make
Yeah.
too. is
Really?
the peach.
Okay.
Yeah, the other ones are, they're not overly complicated, but they do get a little more complex.
And the blackberry. So this actually, when we first launched, we actually launched this as a product called Storm Surge,
Okay.
and it was real fruit juice and vodka, right?
You
So
smell it.
So yeah. So it was like real blackberry fruit juice with vodka, dark, rich in color, but it was like 250 calories. Not for anything bad we've done to it, but it was just real blackberry juice, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually like I would say the legacy product that we've had. This is where it kind of started off with us. Good, great product. We like it. And lemon lime is that's our newest flavor. And again, really, fresh citrus oil from Florida, from down the street,
Yeah.
right? That citrus kind of pops off at you, and that's what we want. We want you to have that aromatic experience along with the actual flavor,
Yeah.
right?
Lemon
No, these
lime's
are definitely
my,
good. Yeah.
front runner right now. If I had to
The
choose,
lemon lime?
yeah,
I'll
that
have to
one's
try
my-
that.
Peach.
The peach is definitely so far my favorite. Right
So right now we're R&Ding tea, a lemonade,
now. I can see why that's.
Yeah.
a tea
So-
lemonade mix,
I would have to say yeah. Those two right there.
tea rums. Those are actually pretty awesome. I just don't know how the consumer will. Again, it goes back to marketing sales. I know you make liquid. I don't know how to really sell it. What else? Something like a margarita, pina colada, those things.
Okay,
are
yeah.
But again, I mean, a canned margarita is like you're kind of missing something, right? Like, so.
I mean, and would you guys probably start doing that at some of your tap rooms and like the restaurant is start doing like the cocktails with your guys'?
Oh yeah, so we have we serve spirits here in Pinellas. We
Mhm.
serve them in Cape Coral. Trying to acquire a liquor license for Orlando, but they're absurdly expensive.
Really?
Ebor is going to be full spirits bar. So I don't know if you remember that location, but
Yeah.
you had Hamburger Mary's
Mhm.
on 7th, and behind you was like the Mary's Pub.
Yeah.
So Mary's Pub will I think kind of stylistically be more of a not a speakeasy per se, but that will be the home of like a cocktail list of 100 different mixed drinks. Whereas the front, if you still want something, we'll give it to you. But
Yeah.
the front really is a brew pub, right? So we're brewing on site.
Oh, really?
Every
You
day.
guys are gonna-
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're brewing on site every day. The idea has always kind of been, and I just think functionally it won't work, but was that could be the home of our dark and barrel aged beer, right?
Ooh.
We've got a great oversized mash tun for this small batch system. This is gonna be tough to fit it in there. That's the only thing, right?
Yeah.
So.
Because those are starting to be very popular too, as those barrel aged beers.
Well, I think they've been popular for a long time.
Yeah.
So, but it's we'll just brew a variety of stuff here. We won't just stick with the theme. So, but all this will be there.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. I really appreciate it. And I mean, like I was gonna say, like if you guys wanted to talk a little bit about the still and stuff, because I mean, I know you were saying earlier that you
Yeah,
kind of made some of it.
Yeah, this one, this Frankenstein.
Yeah, the Frankenstein.
pet project.
Yeah.
So I was talking about before, it was kind of inspired by watching the Moonshiners Master Distiller show.
Good show.
I had binge watched, I think the first season of that, and every other episode they're talking about, thumpers and everything like that, and like what you can put in them and what what you get out of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to try it. Well, I have these two stills here that I kind of underutilize them because obviously the hybrid in the back is like my workhorse, and
Yeah.
that's steam powered, so it's much easier to get up to temp and get rolling than the elements here. So yeah, just having the parts and everything, being able to play around with it, it's Frankenstein together, and I haven't fully tested it yet.
Yeah.
I did do one batch of malt whiskey on it, and actually turned out fairly well. I took that, it was a single pass, and put it in a 5-gallon barrel, and it's been sitting there, I think, probably about 5 weeks now. I'm going to try it here in a couple weeks and see where it's at. It's actually a small batch of our Wave Maker whiskey, which is sitting in a tank over there right now.
Yeah.
I have about 180 gallons of like 156 proof waiting to be cut to go into a barrel.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, just chilling out. So I mean, I know it's not going to be exactly what comes out of the larger barrel, but I'm hoping to kind of get an idea. Okay, well, this wasn't an exercise in futility. This is actually gonna taste good at the end. Um, so that one. Eventually, my plan is with that. I do have some rum wash sitting in the back waiting to go in there. If I run it tomorrow or Thursday. I want to see how it does, just handling molasses in there. I don't know, in the
sometimes
thump.
it can dump it.
Yeah, see, I don't know in the thump keg what exactly I'll throw in there yet. Maybe I'll just leave it empty. We'll see. But yeah, it's really just the R&D. If it comes out good, then I made something worth keeping around. If not, okay, well, with tri-clamps, it's easy to reconfigure.
Well, heck, let me know when that American malt might be. I'll come and dump and try it out.
Love that.
Yeah. And then
we talk about expansion. The big hybrid may go find a new home, but my goal one day is to actually have the time to come over and sit next to Ryan and play around all day. Night.
That would be fun.
These are the only two they'll trust me to use. They're afraid of me killing everybody or blowing the place up with the other two stills, but these two will honestly stick around for a while. I think we're gonna try to buy 10 more plates for that.
Oh, okay.
Just a pure straight stripping still, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, they lose utility once we have the hybrid still.
Yeah.
Once we have the continuous still. Back to licensure, I think the hybrid still it might end up going to our sister brewery in Punta Gorda.
Oh, okay.
So, depending upon what the fire marshal is asking of us, it's either boiler steam system, right, or it's electric system. But these three things I think will be, I'd be very, very happy if, as we grow in our success, that they're part of the lore for a long time.
Well, I'd definitely be excited if you guys do a rye whiskey, like we said earlier.
Sure.
That would be fun.
Yeah. No, that's happening. That's
it's
that's 100% happening.
It was in talks yesterday with the malting house with using a Florida-based rye.
So is it like Florida black rye that you guys maybe plant, or another type of?
What did he say? It was their name of it was Florida.
Oh, okay.
So that was their brand. We didn't get into all the details about it, but they gave me the grab bag full of different samples, and that was
the Flow Ride DUH?
Yeah, it's
I thought I saw
Flow
that.
Ride. Yeah.
That might be a good one to get that rapper to sponsor.
Yeah.
Right.
But once we get hopefully signed up, we'll work that into it, and that would be something great to use.
Yeah, that would.
A high rye, whiskey on a Florida-based rye, especially if that UF thing comes through.
Yeah.
And there is a 6-row barley out there that we're able actually to use and everything like that. And 100% rye, Florida rye whiskey. I mean, that would be awesome to market. I mean, first of its kind.
Something uniquely Florida. And I mean, I know I've heard that with UF is working with quite a few different distillers around the state to try to develop that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be necessary, right? If we're going to all stay compliant
with the law.
I just don't think there's enough capacity of current agricultural products, right? But there's certainly a lot to choose from.
Oh, yeah.
So then obviously the other thing that probably isn't going to go away is your molasses and your sugar cane, all them sugar plants down middle Florida.
Well, see, that surprised me that you said that a lot of the sugar cane isn't coming from, let's say, down south. That is coming more from New Orleans.
100%. It's easier. It's so much more readily available from Louisiana and Minneapolis, which I don't understand the Minneapolis thing.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think the difference, right, is for the Florida plants, they have a very specific commercial purpose, right? Yeah. To support whatever company you're probably using what they're growing, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's certainly not going into rum. It's going into other needs. So.
It could, hopefully.
Well, hopefully.
That'd be great.
Look, I still contend. I think if we keep doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we can get that big stock press, and we can literally have we pressed that sugarcane juice. 2 hours later, it was in a tank with yeast.
Yeah.
Right. 7 days later, it was ready to distill. Goes back into a barrel, and then just like the Tennessee whiskey, where they use the Lincoln process, the idea was basically char up a bunch of the sugarcane stock.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And then pour it over the sugarcane stock, right? Would it be cool or would it be terrible? I don't know what it would do, but
make our own Florida Tampa process.
Totally, right? It'd be the Tampa process.
Yeah,
right?
the Tampa process.
Yeah, I guess it'd be the Pinellas process, right? That's what we call it.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, there you go. The Tampa Bay.
Who wants to be really ownership?
That's a little mouthy, but
you gotta keep it in Tampa though.
Yeah.
Like, you tell someone I'm from Clearwater. And they look at you, they glaze in their eyes like, what the hell is he talking about? Yeah,
Yeah.
Tampa. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so,
I mean, yeah, and I think that almost, well, I don't know. It could be a cool experience too if you got some people like press that sugar cane.
Oh yeah, I mean we've because I actually think that is the best way. The problem with that is I don't know where you go to just buy stocks. Like I don't think anyone has that. Like those people aren't set up to say, well, how many stocks you want? Oh, I'll take 1,000 pounds of stocks, right? Like so it's look, and I think as an industry though, those are the cool things that they're going to have to happen for it because the demand will be there, so people will take advantage of them, right?
Yeah, it's definitely really exciting. Hopefully, 10 years, then we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah. But
anything else?
No,
Try anything else?
I mean, if you guys want to try, like, I've been interested to try this apple pie.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Give it a shot.
That's on you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Try it with you, actually.
Yeah, man.
All right, what you take over a second? Actually, have our still manufacturer.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
So yeah, as mentioned before, these two actually came from the same barrel, but after flavor and everything else, definitely took on different characters and looks. So try it out. Let me know how you like it. The personal favorite I had to choose two. I was more of an everything but a turkey fan, but I want to say apple pie I think is our top seller out of the tap room out of the two.
Get some glasses real quickly.
We'll,
Sorry.
I'll print some stuff out here.
So I've just been pressing stop and then re-record.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's saving all the footage from the previous one. I mean, it's red. I got the
Is
red
that this button?
Yeah, your top right button.
Yeah. Then it should be. Yeah.
Check, so.
Yeah. Should be fine.
This will just be part of the cut. I'm just gonna snag one of these here.
Yeah, why not, man? You gotta enjoy it too,
I got a PBR in the fridge.
man. And one of those many beer coolers.
PBR beer spirit. Actually,
why not?
Right? Yeah,
give it a shot.
If it's got enough in it.
I'm sure we could buy PBR in bulk in like a tote or something like that. It's got to be available.
I'm sure PBR would be happy if you did that.
Yeah. Save some money because you have to can it for me. Just run it right off the tank.
Yeah. You definitely smell that cinnamon, man.
Mm-hmm. So this one it is apple forward. You get that almost like a green apple up front, with a little bit of cinnamon falling up the back end.
Yeah. It's just very clean.
Which it'd be very hard to get someone to believe that started life as a beer, like that.
Oh, really? Wow,
yeah, that was actually
that would be
that was a beer. Hops, everything, and distilled it, laid it down for a year, pulled it out, and that's what became of it.
Wow.
Like I said, I still got some more over there, quite a few barrels of it that we just haven't really figured out. Do we want to keep it, as is, or do we want to expand on these and maybe do some different flavors? With the holidays coming up, I really, I don't know what an Easter beer spirit tastes like, but or Valentine's Day, but
that'd probably be more like if you had a cherry flavored inspired beer or something.
We thought about doing that. We were playing around with some cream liqueur. There for a minute to see, and it just quite couldn't dial in what we were looking for. So we put that one on the back burner. Not saying we won't do that in the future, but
this one smells good.
Yeah, so this one's very savory.
Yeah.
So get some cinnamon, a little bit of spiced pecan.
That's what I was going to say. It's very similar to like a pecan pie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. For the basic people, it does have some pumpkin spice in there too. So don't we made sure we covered our bases when it came to the
pecan, pumpkin.
Yeah, the fall flavors. But
especially down here in Florida, you kind of have to feel like you got to get into fall somehow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
because
You know,
it doesn't always feel like fall.
making this in October and it's still 90 something degrees
Oh, man.
outside. It definitely did not feel like fall in here at all.
I bet
So,
not.
but yeah, there's just little projects we're working on. Have some more in mind, more things we're gonna be coming out with. Whiskey is obviously
Yeah.
a big focus of what I'm trying to.
Yeah, I would definitely say
into.
that's a really good one. So I mean, if you guys start releasing that,
Yeah, we'll call you up and let
Yeah.
you know that it's
Yeah.
available.
because that one's good. And I mean, like, are you guys also part of the expansion? Would there might be like a rick house, or is it mostly if you ever gets?
We haven't fully decided yet. I mean, depending on everything you hear about the distilleries with the rick house, it takes quite the
Yeah, it
team
takes a
of
lot of
guys
time,
to actually do it. Well, as of right now, I'm the only distillery employee, so yeah, I can move barrels, but
Yeah,
I
it's
use a
gonna-
forklift and I'm able to move them around that way.
Gotcha, yeah.
So definitely, having them come in on pallets and stacking vertically is a much more efficient
Yeah.
for me. Even just be able to move it. Not saying we won't get more employees in the future, but watching that. Was it Chasing Jack Daniels or whatever that documentary that came out or wherever, and they're talking about the rick houses and they're like, yeah, in our regular rick house it takes 7 guys all day long to do the work of one guy on a forklift in our vertical house.
Yeah.
So it's like you're looking at that and space and everything like that too. It's just almost more beneficial for us just to do the old vertical stacking. Yeah, it's not that pretty.
No.
I mean, you get enough barrels, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and that is kind of a new thing that you're seeing. Like, either they do the horizontal or they do vertical. I mean, there's a lot of distilleries that are kind of deciding whether they want to go with that route because, like you said, the vertical is a little bit more efficient. And I mean, it still makes for a pretty good whiskey product at the end of the day. So.
Yeah. We we were recently up in.
Oh, okay, so I guess.
Was it cutting out?
The battery's almost dead. I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to do your conclusion. And all
Yeah,
that stuff.
so-
Oh yeah, do what you gotta do.
Well, yeah, so really appreciate Ryan and LJ for joining me on Bourbon Bay Talks, and thank you guys for having me. And as always,
Coming
guys,
out.
if you're going to have a drink, have it with us. And cheers, and Ushkabeh.
I want to thank LJ and Ryan for joining me on this episode of Bourbon Bay Talks, and I hope you guys enjoy. And as always, if you did, go ahead and smash that like button. I'll be putting their info for Big Storm Brewing Company in the description. If you have any comments, definitely write them down and let me know. I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible with those. And if you have any ideas on any future episodes, definitely, again, write them down in the comments. As always, guys, I hope you guys enjoy. Ushkabehe and cheers. And I also want to thank my sponsors at this time, Loaded Cannon and Higher Order Smokers. And I'll be putting their info in the description as well. And as always, guys, have a great night. Ushkabehe and cheers.